sun were burning daylight.
Howdy there. I'm Matt McKinley, and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burnin' Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Brought to you by Stetson Ranches out of Fromberg, Montana. Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Happy Monday. Hope the weekend treated you all right. Cooled down here. We've got some fall weather upon us. No way is that a bad thing. It is cooled off. We had a couple freezes. Been wearing a vest. Had to order a new felt hat because my old felt hat. Well, I've got a good felt hat, but I'm not ready to retire that for work just yet. So I ordered one of them Amish hats, and I've heard good things about them. One issue for me is they only come in black, and I don't think I've ever owned a black felt before. So we'll see. Hopefully it looks good. It doesn't take much to make this look good. It kind of comes natural. That's a lie. Anyhow, weather's been nice. The political climate, on the other hand, has it's been I guess you could say it's been cold, one side toward another, or you could also say it's been hot, judging by the amount of riots and protests and violence and shit over the last several years. And it has led to a lot of discussion about where do we go from here? And I'm at the point where I don't think there's any real political solution to what we do anymore, but that's also kind of boring. And well, I guess just as an example, what does Congress do anymore besides throw shit at one another, and then they will manufacture a crisis, and eventually they will, at the last minute, they will go ahead and solve this crisis that they have created, and expect you to give them a pat on the back or something. So, like this debt ceiling deal had the media all up in arms, and if you've been paying attention to politics at all in the past 10 years or so, the Republicans sometimes talk about the debt and how bad it is. Just not when they're in office. Case in point, Donald Trump was in office for 4 years, and he spent more money than any other president before him. That part seems to get left out for the Republican side of things. But when there's a Democrat in the White House, boy, they fight like cats and dogs about the debt ceiling and whatnot. But anyway, we have this looming debt crisis, and there's a chance that was a chance that America's going to default on its loans, on its payments, and the world's going to come crashing down around us. And just like clockwork, at the last minute, Republicans finally signed on to a short-term deal wherein, they avert crisis. They agree to raise the debt ceiling or keep spending only till December, so then they can have another crisis in which to scare the bejesus out of people. And which it doesn't work, but people don't pay attention to Congress anymore. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But anyways, there's not much going on in Congress, just a lot of shit throwing and a lot of made up or self-induced crises that then they have to. They're basically just justifying their own existence. And in the meantime, the executive branch, president, is basically left to his own devices, in which he'll declare, and I say he'll because we haven't had a woman president yet, and I don't. The outlook for a woman president doesn't look all that promising, in my opinion, for the near future. I guess you would say the current front runner, most likely to be a woman president, would be Kamala Harris. I guess, or she's like the first one that kind of comes to mind. But I don't think, I don't think she is electable. Definitely not likable. And yeah. So, anyways, I don't see a woman president for the time being. Could be wrong. I was wrong about Trump both times. So take that with a grain of salt. But I just don't see much happening on the woman president front. But it seems like your conservative states and your progressive liberal states are getting further and further apart on things. California is about to go full authoritarian. Not that they weren't before, but Gavin Newsom just won his recall election by a wide margin, like kind of a surprisingly wide margin, even for California. So now they feel like they have a mandate to just go, full-blown authoritarian. So mandating vaccines for school children, and surprisingly, I don't think the teachers are under a vaccine mandate. I don't know for sure on that, but all that, I'm not here to discuss the vaccine mandates. I think you guys all know my position on that. Said it before, said it again. Mandate this dick. That's my thoughts on mandates in general. So that's not what I wanted to talk about tonight, but there's been a considerable amount of talk about civil war, secession. What's the peaceful divorce is another one I've heard, and it's not just talk on the internet. I guess there's been some actual steps kind of moving in that direction, and we've seen it not so much on the state level. I mean, Texas always threatens to secede, and California actually kind of somewhat threatened here the other day. And there's I guess there's always some sort of rumbling, but not really nothing seriously about it. But this deal happened in New Hampshire the other day, and up here, New Hampshire lawmaker wants the state to consider secession from the U.S. And so a New Hampshire legislator is attempting to get granite state voters to consider declaring their independence from the United States. When was this? This was for 18th. So it's been about a month, not quite a month. Representative Mike Sylvia, Republican, introduced an amendment calling for a public referendum on the matter, which would be on the ballot for the 2022 general election. Sylvia cited the Biden administration draconian COVID-19 orders, like addiction ban, and Joe Biden's vaccine mandates as the main reasons to consider secession from the union. So basically, should 60% of both the state house and Senate approve the measure, it would be placed on the ballot for statewide election in November of 22. GOP controls both houses of the legislature in New Hampshire, but their margin in each chamber falls short of 60. Governor Chris Sununu would not have to approve the referendum should it get to. Okay, so as I said, this is an example where they actually, like, there's been actual steps taken towards session. So it doesn't sound like this is going to go anywhere. But it's more of a publicity stunt, and there's some backstory to that. There's New Hampshire has been kind of a hotbed for libertarian politics in the past decade or so, mostly spurred by an organization called the Free State Project, and which I might go over some do an episode on the Free State Project, see if I can't get somebody that's aligned with them to come on and discuss it. But all of that aside, that's the first like real steps that we've seen towards a national secession, really since the Civil War. I was mentioning there's been some other steps, not so much in statewide, but for an example, here is a map of 2020 electoral college. So you can see 238 Biden, 13 Trump, and most of the blue states being on the coasts, and then like the vast majority of the middle part of the country is voting Republican, more conservative. Alaska going Republican, and Hawaii going Democrat. And so back in 1860, right before Civil War really kicked off, Abe Lincoln wins the election, and shortly thereafter, the Confederate states secede, led by South Carolina, and then followed by North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, and believe Missouri was still in the Union, but they were a slave state. Same with Kentucky. And it was basically everything below the Mason-Dixon plus Virginia. And they pretty well, everything went state by state minus Virginia. And as you can see up here, I don't know. Yeah, can't see my map. But Virginia split apart, and with West Virginia splitting off and forming its own new state. And I don't know what the county by county breakdown would have been. I suppose I could look it up. But as far as 2020 goes, here is an electoral breakdown by county. And you can see even within, say, like Washington and Oregon, um, still a pretty conservative state for the most part outside of counties. Um, Nevada is a huge example of that. So let me scan that. So you've got there's Nevada. So you got Washoe County, which is Reno, Clark County, which is Las Vegas, of course, and there's about 3 million people in the state of Nevada, and about 2 million live in Clark County. And Clark County basically runs the entire show. Let me look that up real quick, see if they're I don't even know where to start on going state by state, but look, we'll go back to the county by county. And I just don't know how states would vote nowadays if if there was a referendum on whether or not to secede from the United States, how each particular state's going to respond to that. Texas, as you can see, there's still a pretty good chunk of Democratic controlled counties, but vast majority of the state is conservative. You've got states like Kansas where they have one county that really votes Democrat, over by Kansas City. Surprising, even Wichita didn't vote Democrat, but and same thing with like Utah. They've got counties that vote Democrat. Idaho's got a handful. Montana's got a handful, but they just so happen to be in the biggest parts of the state. Oh, look at that! Even Wyoming's got one blue county. North Dakota's got 2. South Dakota's got 5. Nebraska's got 2. And so, like, I'd say states like Oklahoma's got no Democratic counties, but I think you could say even with like the large Democratic population in Texas, if it was put to a vote whether or not Texas should secede from Union, I think even today, Texas is going to vote overwhelmingly. Go ahead and get the fuck out. But I think when you look at, and particularly in the Western U.S., but I don't that back up. For example, even if you look up in like New York, it's a lot of red up in New York. But then, excuse me, you got states like Massachusetts, who there's not a single red county in the state. Hawaii is the same way. Vermont, same deal. And but outside of those handful of states, there's a pretty distinct split between urban and rural parts of the state. And I think I just don't think that you know, I don't think state pride outside of, say, maybe New York and Texas. There might be a few others, but really Texas. There's just not that much state pride where, like, I just, if Colorado decided to declare war on Kansas tomorrow, I just don't feel that strong of a calling for me to go back and fight for the state of Colorado against the state of Kansas. maybe there's probably some other people that feel like they would. I just don't. That's me personally. Um, but I would take up arms in defense of liberty. Uh, so, and I think there's a lot of people that feel that way, where they're not really necessarily tied to their home state so much, but they're um, they're tied to the idea of freedom and liberty. And so when I look at, and now granted, Republican Party's dog shit just like the Democrats, but you see all these red counties across the United States. I don't see Republican. I see more people who believe in freedom or small government, and basically that they don't like communism, authoritarianism, and or at least they claim not to. And so I just don't see as clean of a break as the Civil War was back in 1860, where very much along the Mason-Dixon line. Even though you had brother fighting brother, um, I think it was very much more geographically defined. Where I don't think that's the case nowadays. So go back to we'll just go back to states in general for this little I guess example. And I I it just it's kind of funny when you think about um how everything's going to go nowadays. And so I just want to go kind of state by state. and and part of what brought this up in my thinking is I used to be a big Civil War buff. I haven't read as much on it here in the last, 4 or 5 years, but I like growing up. I read incessantly on the Civil War. It just fascinated me, and particularly, I was a guy that wanted to go in the military from a very young age, and I was fascinated with like military strategy and battlefield tactics, and I studied like the Battle of Gettysburg and Bull Run and on all of these different battles of the Civil War, and I studied the strategies that the tactics that the generals and whatnot used, and so but one of the things that I took away from it, and I didn't really know what the meaning of it was until I got kind of looking into politics and going like a deeper dive into how the country was set up. But there wasn't really a standing army back in those. So when war was declared, which is something we haven't done since World War II, um, but Congress would get together and vote, and they would declare war against whoever. And in that case, then we're at war. The president is the commander in chief, and his job to garner troops. So he would send out a call to the individual states saying, "I need this number of troops in order to raise this army." So the president was basically in charge of raising an army, and states would send militia units, um, who would then be under the command of the United States government. And so therefore you had like the third militia or third Virginia militia or something. You had like the second Alabama cavalry. And I was curious as what that would look like today. And so and even if we weren't going to war against ourselves, um if every state had to produce their own army or military units instead of people just enlisting into the United States Army. But if you say like the California National Guard or the Texas National Guard or something. So I came through with a few good ones, and so let's say shit kicks off and states are seceding right and left. Start with, we'll just go right down in alphabetical order. Alabama. I just don't know what, outside of a little bit of coastline, I don't know what strategic significance Alabama is. So they're probably going to be kind of lost in the fray. I would imagine most of, if not all of the southern states kind of align, much like they did in Civil War. I don't think slavery will be coming back, but I can see Nick Saban like leads a march, Selma, Alabama, just like Martin Luther King did with all the civil rights activists. But instead of trying to get equal rights for black people, he's invading Auburn, the Auburn, Alabama feud. Still rings true, and so basically the entire state of Alabama is gonna descend into a bloody civil war just within Alabama. And sorry, all you Auburn folks, you're probably losing that one. Nick Saban basically is going to be the king of Alabama officially this time. Alaska, very much the same thing. I'd say they've got a lot of strategic significance, but they're very disconnected from the rest of the country. And so, not to be left out, I don't think they're going to be left out at all, but I don't see I see them making a big play in the continental US. Should we go to a civil war? But I could see Sarah Palin leading an army invading Canada. It might be riding grizzlies. I'm not for sure. She might just launch an offensive against Russia. I don't know for sure. But I like the idea of her riding a grizzly into Canada and just taking over the Northwest Territories and maybe British Columbia. And if she manages to knock those two off, what's to stop Alberta and Saskatchewan from joining up with her? So Alaska might be the big winner in all of this. I don't know for sure yet. Arizona. Now that's a tough one. Now Arizona did go blue in this last election, but go back to the county by county map. About four counties that voted Democrat. I can see Arizona. You got a bunch of probably the best gun laws in the country there in Arizona. And I could see a bunch of armed ranchers building a wall on the border of California. I could also see them building a wall on the southern border, which, if we're all fighting ourselves, I guarantee you that southern border is going to be a free-for-all, because when would be the best time to sell cocaine? And that's when you're in the middle of a civil war. I mean, you want those troops berserking all the time. Well, what better way to do that than just a bunch of pure crystal meth coming across the border from Mexico? And so I could also see a bunch of warlords forming in Arizona, striking a deal with the cartel, and Arizona might finance this entire civil war. You never know. But that brings us to Arkansas. Arkansas is definitely going to team up with the rest of the South, but I think there's a handful of Democratic counties in Arkansas. Not a bunch, but there's a few, and I could see, it could be brother against brother, brothers taking up arms against brothers, and then picking up their dicks against their sisters. Has nothing to do with the Civil War. That's just how things are done in Arkansas. But they're basically, and I don't know what these new countries. I mean, they could, instead of going with the Confederate States of America, because that's kind of it's kind of a toxic name anymore. People don't like the Confederate, but you could be Conservative States of America. Still have the same initials, CSA. Might have to change your flag, but if it's a new country, maybe you don't. But I don't see. Well, you never know. I don't see that being the case. But regardless, Arkansas is going to team up with the rest of the South. Basically, the whole SEC is going to be. They'll be one country for sure. I don't know if Texas joins in on that, but you're looking at Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, both the Carolinas, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Missouri. Virginia, that's a tougher one. It's a blue state nowadays, but that's mostly just because of those counties right around DC. And outside of that, it's once again, it's a pretty conservative state. So that's what I mean when it's not as clear cut along state lines as it was back in 1860. But anyway, moving on. Next up, we got California. Now, California, another tricky one, where is heavily Democrat, but not just Democrat, but like wildly left-wing progressive Democrat. And there's also more registered Republicans in the state of California than there is in any other state. So there's a big contingent of conservative folks there. They're outvoted by the cities. So what I could see happening in California, they secede, and being liberal, progressive wokesters that they are, they might enslave all straight white males. Except for Gavin Newsom, because he's different. He's an ally. He's going to set the record straight by enslaving all the other straight white males, except for those who, are powerful and influential and wealthy, and that whole thing. They can't be messed. But the regular straight white dude, right to slavery. And then of course they'll be guarding their eastern border with the 69th non-binary regiment. I would have to imagine that's going to be a rainbow uniform. They might have strap-ons just for the intimidation factor. But the non-binary regiment, I think it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of smoke and poles, but definitely smoke and mirrors. I don't. I think you're gonna have a revolt in Northern California. The Eastern Sierras will probably jump ship and join up with Nevada or Arizona. But yeah, as far as the uniforms go for this modern day Civil War, California's are going to be lit and weird. I can almost guarantee you that. Like platform moon boots, like glittery silver camouflage. Like, not sure what it's supposed to camouflage against. Maybe a disco ball, but they'll be fabulous. Colorado. Once again, we'll go back to county map, and Colorado, as you can see, boy, there's a lot more blue counties in there, but they're still basically along the Front Range. And the good thing is about all these new lefties that have moved into Colorado in the past 10, 20 years, they're kind of pussies. So either the West Slope and the Eastern Plains break off and, say like the West Slope joins Utah or Wyoming, Eastern Plains joins Nebraska or Kansas or Wyoming. Or, what I like to think, is the rural counties, they organize their own militia, mostly consisting of ranchers, farmers. They're all going to be in armored 7.3 power stroke diesels or Cummins, and they roll into Denver, retake the state capitol and the governor's mansion, and then they appoint John Elway to be the new king or governor. And in typical John Elway fashion, he runs the state into the ground, but people let him go do his thing because he won 2 Super Bowls, goddammit. That holds a lot of sway in the state of Colorado. And but the entire state will probably be propped up on marijuana money because, like I said, it's Civil War, baby. What would be a better time to have a little bit of pot? Next up, we got Connecticut, and I'm gonna lump a whole bunch of states together here. So Connecticut, Delaware, Rhode Island, Vermont, Maine, Maryland, and they're all incredibly liberal blue states, incredibly progressive. So they're gonna stick with the liberals. And basically, who cares? They're tiny. I guess there's a lot of people there. I don't know much about any of those. Outside of Massachusetts, the massholes, they might give you a fight. You never know. The rest of them, who cares? Connecticut, Delaware, Rhode Island, Vermont. No worries. I guess they'll join up with whoever's the most authoritarian. Florida. Oh, Florida man's gonna ring. I mean, this is their time to shine. Florida man goes off in the Civil War. Ron DeSantis, being the strong governor that he is going to authorize genetic research on all these pythons that have been released into the Everglades, which have been taken over. Kind of a problem, but Ron DeSantis has a solution. Genetic research. Somehow he's going to weaponize these pythons and probably put them in defensive locations throughout the state. Cool thing about Florida is, except for the panhandle, it is completely surrounded by water. So their land border is also, they're also bordered by pretty friendly states. Like I said, that basically the entire South is going to be one block. So they don't really have to worry about that northern border of Florida so much. Coast might be a little bit different, so that's where genetically modified pythons and probably alligators too. Because, I mean, if there's one thing that Florida's got, it's alligators. And then he's probably going to go ahead and supply the entire Florida military with meth and bath salts. And they're just going to go berserker on whoever. Just going to fuck people up till they run out of meth. Georgia, much like their beloved Bulldogs, they probably got great defensive positions, but eventually they're going to lose to Florida or South Carolina. Not South Carolina, the university, but state as a whole, because they usually lose to Clemson. But eventually, like I said, the whole South. I don't even need to go into what the rest of the South is going to do, but the Georgia military, I think you could probably lump. I don't know. I'd say Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. They're probably going to be guys with shorts and boat shoes and polo shirts, and they're really going to talk about how they're gonna fight this war, but really they get shot at, they're going to call their dad to sue whoever shot at them. But there's also a lot of good old boys down there that know how to shoot, so yeah, you don't want to fuck with the South. They especially nowadays, back then they didn't have any they really didn't have any industry at all. And then the guns that they had were terrible. Now, like the amount of weaponry that we have now, and a lot of it being in the South, South is yeah, you don't want to fuck with them. And they're probably going to be all hopped up on moonshine as well, and meth. I mean, don't discount the meth. The meth is going to play a huge factor in the Civil War 2.0. And frankly, I think the southern border of the U.S., those states, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California, they're going to play a big part into who wins this war, because they control the meth traffic from Mexico. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still going to be plenty of meth labs here in the U.S., but we're going to be at war, damn it. And so we got to get our meth from a different location, and Mexico's right there. So, once the states of Texas, or countries, publics, whatever you got, the conservative states of America, once they sign a deal with the cartels, that meth starts flowing in to the fighters. I mean, progressive states of America's, I mean, they're done. Like when you got a bunch of pissed off rednecks, armed to the teeth, and all fucked up on meth. However, all these progressive states of America, they also have a lot more people. And they have inner cities, which means they have a lot of gangs. And those boys, they may not know how to shoot the best, probably not as good a marksman as, say, some old boy from Tennessee, or definitely not from Nevada or Utah. However, they're not as shy about shooting, so kind of used to it. So we might have a real fight on our hands, and we know inner cities have a lot of guns too, even though they have a lot of gun laws. They still have a lot of guns. But good for those states. Those guns are going to come in handy, because after the southern border states signed that compact with the cartels, There's going to be meth everywhere. Probably some PCP too. That's where Florida is really going to shine, is the PCP. Hawaii, I don't know what Hawaii is going to do. They'd probably be better off just being their own thing out in the middle of the ocean. But just for shits and giggles, Tulsi Gabbard's from Hawaii. She also happens to be in the Air Force, and she's also had a feud with Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris for quite some time. So I could picture Tulsi Gabbard, flying a contingent of fighter, either probably bombers, maybe just kamikaze style, right into Hillary and Kamala's place of residence. I don't know if that. Where does the Naval Observatory, I think, is where the vice president lives, and then Hillary Hill Dog up in Chappaquiddick. I think that's where it is in New York. But yeah, Tulsi Gabbard just nosedives right into Chappaquiddick. Gets old Hill Dog once and for all. But she thinks, anyways. But we all know that Hillary Clinton's basically a robot at this point. The motherfuckers you're gonna have to worry about is guys like Dick Cheney, who has a ton of money and has his fingers in a whole bunch of defense contractors. So you always gotta worry about those assholes rising back up. Well, let's see. The Midwest is one where I'm not real for sure about. So the Midwest is so let's say Kansas is obviously going to be conservative states of America. But the rest of the Midwest not so cut and dry, I don't think. So Kansas will be conservative states of America, Nebraska very much the same. Iowa, I think they would go conservative. I don't know though. It's kind of a swing state. Missouri is going to be right there with the South. Illinois, very blue state, but that's mostly because of Chicago. The rest of Illinois is pretty conservative, so I'm not sure how that one's going to go. But I think just for the sheer amount of people in Chicago, I mean, it is the third biggest city in the U.S., so I'd probably say they're gonna join up with the progressive states of America. New York's gonna be kind of, I know they're not Midwest, but that's another one. Well, the vast majority of the state, like the counties and whatnot, are gonna be conservative. There's just so many more people in New York City that gonna chalk that one up to progressive states of America. Now, and we get up into like the upper Midwest, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. I don't really know. I wanna say that they're probably all gonna end up being conservative states of America, but Minnesota, I don't know. Minnesota's a weird one. Wisconsin's kind of a weird one, but I think outside the cities, especially if you get all those farmers and hunters hopped up on meth with the guns that they already have, I think those cities fall pretty quick, but I don't know. There's some pretty big cities in, well, you got Detroit, you got like Madison, Wisconsin, Green Bay, obviously, you got Minneapolis, St. Paul up in Minnesota. Those are, pretty big cities, so who knows? Pennsylvania. Oh, well, Indiana is going to go conservative states. Ohio, I think, probably would too. Kentucky's going to be with the South, obviously. And yeah, I there's a lot of these states. I mean, that I just don't know. It's hard to say how they would go. Like, especially like I was talking with New Hampshire, but most of the southern states that did actually secede back in the day, for the most part, I think it was a statewide referendum that they voted on. So, like when you get to some of these kind of battleground states, or even like some hardcore like liberal states like Washington and Oregon, even California for that matter, there's still a pretty significant chunk of the state that doesn't agree with that shit. So it's hard for me to believe that when you have counties in Oregon and Washington and California trying to break off from their home states and join the state of Idaho, it's hard for me to believe that those same counties who already want to be a part of a different state are going to go ahead and follow along with the state of Washington and Oregon should they cede from the United States. And I nobody wants war by any means. Well, no reasonable, rational person wants war, especially within your own country, because that would just be it'd be terrible, especially with given today's weapons technology. It would be brutal. But I if you look back at 1861, nobody thought that war was going to be a a big deal either. They were just gonna go play war games for a couple weeks, and it was gonna be a grand old time. And then 4 years later, and 600,000 Americans dead, and who knows how many billions of dollars worth property damage and just devastation. War, well, as William Tecumseh Sherman, general of Union of one of the Union armies, as he said, war is hell. And but you I don't know if you guys have contemplated this in over the past several years, but it just feels like more and more we're pushing towards that point where it like this thing just can't continue the way it is. It makes you wonder what all that entails. Like, Texas is going to be the first one to break away. Is it going to be California, or is it going to be Florida? I don't know. Or is it going to be some little state that really doesn't make a bit of difference as as far as national politics and national economy, even like New Hampshire. They're the first ones to actually bring anything forth, whether anything comes of it or not. But is it going to be some seemingly insignificant state like that sets off the whole chain reaction? I think that's when something like that happens real quick, and it typically only takes one particular catalyst to set it all off. Well, look at World War One. You have all these treaties and alliances, and everybody's pledged to help one another should war break out, and then all it takes is one guy from Serbia that assassinate the Archduke Austro-Hungarian Empire, Franz Ferdinand, and next thing you know, the whole damn world is at war with And I could see something seemingly as insignificant as New Hampshire voting to secede from the Union, setting off a whole chain reaction of events that could lead to something really great, or it could lead to just a brutal civil war. But then again, you look at, say, like Lithuania back in the late 80s or early 90s when they eventually, Lithuania being a Soviet bloc country, declared independence. And it was, if I remember right, and I haven't done a lot of research on this, if I remember right, it was pretty peaceful. Ugh. Oh, damn. Trying to sneeze. But if I remember right, it was pretty peaceful. They just declared independence from the Soviet Union, and then slowly or pretty rapidly, one after another, the Soviet Union collapsed. And so that's why I kind of ponder on these things, because once shit happens, it happens rather quickly. And you just wonder how that all plays out nowadays. I honestly I don't know. Especially when you come to, like, well, where I'm at now, Nevada, there's basically one state that controls the entire rest of the state. It's a big state, like not people wise, but it's a big state. You know, Clark County butts up with Southern California and Arizona, and Washoe County butts up with Northern California and Oregon, and Elko County borders Utah and Idaho. I mean, it's a big state landmass wise, and Clark County, Las Vegas, pretty well controls the entire state. So, like, does the state of Nevada, the counties get together and decide to kick Clark County out, or just give them to California in exchange for, say, Northern California? I just don't know how all that, or would they secede from the state of Nevada and join up with Idaho and Utah, or like does Utah like revive the old Nauvoo Legion and then they just like start raiding U.S. military bases like they did back in the Utah War? Like, I'm not sure how all of this works. Like, does Utah go back to the good old days when they just declare themselves the state of Deseret again, and just polygamy everywhere? Does the Nauvoo Legion march into battle wearing the sacred garments? Like, I don't know how that works. Like, Oklahoma, like they just all roll up to the front line on their rascal scooters, and and like Wisconsin at the border, just like, oh hey there, well what's your business now? Oh sorry, oh gotta turn around. It's the free state of Wisconsin. Your papers ain't right. And I hate to do this to you, fella, but you gotta turn around. It's a weird concept. Like Kentucky, like just the hollers are aglow at night. Just they're making moonshine, like on just like, it's going double shift, just industrial sized moonshine going. I mean, you've got to fuel, like that's the big thing about waging war, is you've got to be able to fuel your army. And in this case, with Texas and Montana and North Dakota supplying the oil, like Kentucky and Arkansas and Missouri, they got to step it up and they got to supply the moonshine. And you got the border states supplying all the meth. You got Florida with the genetically modified alligators. Like, what's New York? Is it just like a bunch of bunch of grab-assing Italians like, hey, we're not perverted here, we're just Italian. And I don't know, like New York would be they're I don't know. You know, they were the only state that didn't sign on to the Declaration of Independence. They actually abstained from voting. And so, who knows? Who knows what they do? Um, but I just no, it's weird. It's weird to think what a modern day civil war would look like, but I can guarantee you it would be a lot different. Well, like my home state of Colorado and now Nevada here. I guess Nevada was technically a state right at the end of the Civil War. Illegally, by the way, according to the Constitution. But Lincoln pushed them through as a state because they needed that silver to fund the war. So Nevada might be a prize commodity. There's a lot of gold mines here. So it's hard to say because like when it comes just to the actual fighting, yeah, all those Antifa fucks, they wouldn't last very long. I would put my money on the gangsters from Chicago and New York putting up a way better fight than anybody from Portland. But when you look at it from like a strategic level, boy, it's a whole different ball game. Like you kind of need those coastal states to just to have sea ocean access. So Texas has that. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, they all have that. But then the whole West Coast, that's Washington, Oregon, and California. And those coastal towns are going to be very, very progressive. Because that Confederate States of conservative states, not Confederate. We don't like the Confederates. Allegedly. But should the conservative states of America decide to invade the West Coast, like are those 69th non-binary regiment able to hold them off? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. And who's to say it even comes to the armed conflict? I don't know. But it feels like we're headed somewhere along that way, and I like to, as much as I don't know if anybody's ready for that shit if it does pop off, but kind of interesting to think about. So I don't know. I do like the thought of Sarah Palin invading Canada on a grizzly, though. I'd pay to watch that. Yeah. Anyhow, this is the culmination of a long day of putting away bawling calves the other day. So, hope you enjoyed it. Probably stupider for listening to it, but having listened to it, but that's what you get when you tune in. The Only Cowboy podcast. The only work. Yeah, it's getting late. Brain's dying on me, but that's what you get when you listen to Burnin Daylight. So, anyhow, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you get signed up for the Spur raffle if you'd like. We still got a few spots left, so if you'd like to get entered up, shoot me a message. Tracy Morrison made them. They're damn nice. Don't have them in here at the moment. They're in the house, but you can look through all the social media posts and see them. they're really nice. I think we got about 15 spots left, and then once they're all sold, we'll do the drawing. So get signed up if you'd like to have a chance of that. It's $50 a spot. Portion of the proceeds will go to the Farmer Veteran Coalition. So not only you get a chance at a really, really nice set of spurs, you also get to help donate to a good cause. So they help veterans transitioning out of the military, start their own farm and ranch. It's a really, really good organization. So glad we'll be able to donate a little bit to them. So other than that, we'll see you here on Wednesday. So move your ass, Burnin Daylight.